Good evening and welcome to another installment of the New York Minute Sports Show. We've got Ken Rosenthal on foul territory talking about the salary cap debate in Major League Baseball. With the looming strike next year, it's going to be one of the biggest issues, and we're breaking it down right here on New York Minute Sports. It's New York Sports for New York Nuts. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. Let's go! Well, there you have it, folks. Welcome to another installment of the New York Minute Sports Show. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. The salary cap, that's right, that's what we're talking about today. And with the looming strike next year, it's going to be one of the biggest issues in Major League Baseball. Now, there's two trains of thought on this, guys. If you're a Pittsburgh Pirates fan, if you're a small market fan, you're clamoring for the salary cap, and that's the excuse for all your baseball problems in the world. Then on the other side of the coin, you got fans like me of the Yankees, Toronto Blue Jays, and the LA Dodgers who spend more money per capita than a small nation, do not want the salary cap because we're like, hey, then start spending more money. But the question overall, is the money in baseball hurting baseball? The word around town is that the LA Dodgers are destroying baseball. They're ruining baseball. I heard the same thing about the New York Yankees in the late 90s and early 2000s. But you know what? Nobody was complaining after the strike in 1994 when the New York Yankees dynasty saved baseball. Also, I didn't hear teams like the Tampa Bay Rays, Miami Marlins, and the Pittsburgh Pirates, the poster child for this looming strike, when they were receiving luxury tax money from the top 8 teams in all of Major League Baseball. You know, the New York Yankees and the Boston Red Sox, with all the money they spent in the early 2000s, are directly responsible for the production of the Tampa Bay Rays. So think about this for a second. The Boston Red Sox and New York Yankees spent so much money in the late 90s and early 2000s. They put so much money into the luxury cap that the fact that they financed the Tampa Bay Rays, who wound up going to the World Series and beating them there in their own division, make sense. Do I think guys like Kyle Tucker should be making $60 million a year? I don't know. That's up for you to decide. Let me know in the comments below, guys. How do you feel immediately? When you hear salary cap as a baseball fan, what's the feeling in your soul? Yes? No? Sound off in the comments below, because this is a hot topic issue, and we're going to be covering it all season long, along with the AL East and everything baseball. So don't forget to hit the notification. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. And we're going to be dropping merch within the next week, guys. A lot of stuff in store for New York Minute Sports. Enough out of me. Let's get to Ken Rosenthal on foul territory, breaking down the issue of the salary cap.
So what do you have for us? Lay it out.
Well, the purpose of the article, Scott, was just to really say a salary cap is not the only solution here. It seems that the way the conversation has gone in recent weeks, that's what people are thinking. Well, it's a cap or nothing. And I would suggest that the sport is in a very healthy place right now. We know the revenues last year were $12.1 billion. They're expected to be even higher for 2025. When the numbers come in, we saw a great World Series. 51 million people watched Game 7 worldwide. It's not the right time for a labor dispute, which would...
My question is, when is it the right time for a labor dispute? That's like when somebody goes, oh, I can't get sick right now. Get away from me. Are you sick? It's like, when is there a good time to get sick? But that's neither here nor there. And baseball loves to do this, by the way. That's baseball's MO, man. When baseball starts getting really popular, it happened in 1994. You had Donnie Baseball leading the charge with the New York Yankees and Buck Showalter. It finally looked like they were going to go to the World Series for the first time since the 70s, and with Donnie Baseball. Then you had Matt Williams breaking the third base record for home runs by a third baseman in Major League Baseball with 38, and the season wasn't even done. You had the Montreal Expos, who looked like a juggernaut, led by Moises Alou. Guys, 1994 was stacked, the emergence of Ken Griffey Jr., and what did they do? They had a strike, and it almost killed baseball. When I say almost killed baseball, I'm not exaggerating. Baseball almost died, and as a 10-year-old Yankee fan, I was heartbroken, and I don't want this to happen again. Baseball needs to figure it out ASAP. I don't know if it's a good thing that labor talks are already starting. Remember when the commissioner of baseball walked into the Phillies locker room and Bryce Harper told him to go fuck off? At least they're talking, folks. It's like a divorce. As long as there's communication, folks.
Would be shorts.
I like what you wrote on there about teams having to meet a payroll. And I think you hear a lot of owners, a lot of, presidents talk about, we don't have, we're a small market, we don't have the money. I think a soft floor like you're talking about here where teams don't meet it, what would be the extent of not meeting a payroll if that was to be instituted?
Well, this is my idea, Todd. It's
that's why I want to hear. I
discussed.
just want to hear about it for sure.
Right. What I'm talking about is you don't hit a certain level, you lose draft picks. You don't hit a certain level, you lose revenue sharing money. You don't compete at a certain level, win a number of games, a minimum over, 3 or 4 year periods, you lose money that way, or you lose something. So there are ways to do that. I'm sure the owners would hate that idea. They would say, no, you want a floor, you got to have a cap. And I'm saying this isn't a floor. This is a soft floor like the soft cap that currently exists in baseball. It's not really a cap, but you know what I'm saying? There are restrictions there.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying, restrictions at the bottom too, because if those teams are going to get more money, and I'm suggesting that they should get more money, then at some point they've got to spend on payroll, not infrastructure, not on a new academy.
My question.
And also, you got to remember that they have designed everything for these small market teams to actually work. They've changed how much money you have to give the draft picks. They changed how long the first contract that these guys are on, like Anthony Volpe, for 5 years. They've all designed things like that to take power away from the big market teams. The only reason that the Pittsburgh Pirates have Paul Skeens right now is because the way you win in baseball is building through the farm system, is because you can't go out and get 3 major aces. Like, let's first say, for argument's sake, Schoolbull, Freed, and the other top paid player of the guy. No, you need to go out and get guys that only make $500,000 a year to fill out the rest of your starting rotation. That's the way it's been for the last decade in baseball. So now they want to do even more. After 10 years of small market owners doing jack squat for their teams, for their fans, and for the city that they live in, now we're going to make it even better for them. That's why I'm saying this strike is so convoluted, guys. It's not players and owners. It's fractured owners, and the players are like, hey, we don't want to make less money. It's an open market. It's a free market, and we want to go out and make $1 billion if we want. I've always heard that argument before. Oh, these pro athletes don't deserve this kind of money. I'm a middle-class guy. You know what? Yes, they do. There is less Alex Rodriguez's on this earth. There is less Aaron Judges than the best brain surgeons on earth. Okay, and when those brain surgeons operate, 82,000 people don't come to see them play, and 82,000 businesses don't want to sponsor them while they do it. Listen, man, it's supply and demand. It's a capitalistic society. Major League Baseball's the national pastime. The more money you spend, the better you will get. And that's not proven. The Yankees, how much money have the New York Yankees spent since 2009? They haven't had a losing season. How many World Series do they have? 0. It doesn't prove anything. Baseball's a crapshoot. You build from the farm now, and you got to keep your fans happy. If it's one thing that I can say, other than this year and running it back, the New York Yankees make me happy overall as a fan. Imagine being a poor Cincinnati Reds fan, dude. Like, imagine starting the season off. I know they made the playoffs last year, and they're building on something with Terry Francona, but I'm talking about the last 10 years. Think about the basement dwellers of the last 10 years, like the Washington Nationals. That's what baseball is. They built through the farm system. Juan Soto, they unloaded like the Marlins used to do in the 90s, and now they're building through the farm system again. Get better. You know, stop asking for a handout in baseball. It's like the lady crying hunger with a loaf of bread under her arm. The Pittsburgh Pirates owner made $100 million profit last year.
And one of the ideas in there is simply distribute that money not evenly as it has been distributed in the past, the national TV money, but give it disproportionately to the lower revenue teams. It's one way to get them more money. Now, part and parcel with that is those teams. Sorry about this, guys. Those teams.
You're good. We can't even hear it, Ken. You're good.
A higher level. And obviously in a cap system, you have a salary cap and a salary floor. But it has always struck me as odd that at the top of the pay scale, top of the payroll scale, we have a luxury tax system with thresholds and penalties. Why not do that at the bottom? Similar kind of thing. So
there has to be if there's a luxury tax, there has to be a basement tax. So what he means by that is team like the Pirates can't sit on their hands and spend $0 in the offseason. If this goes down to a salary cap, you saw the Oakland Athletics start to do that. They had to spend money. They're going to put a minimal cap on teams because this is what teams do. They sit back, they spend no money, the small market teams. They sit back, they spend no money, and they receive our luxury tax. That's exactly what I was talking about with the Tampa Bay Rays. Also, doesn't it seem like they're punishing success here because of the TV deals? It's not the fault of the New York Yankees that they went out and created their own TV network. I'm sorry if they were groundbreaking and they had the foresight to do that. Why should they be punished? Spread the money around and not spread the money around evenly. So finally, for these teams that dragged their feet for years and years and years and didn't put any money into their franchises are going to be rewarded. This is bullshit.
Bottom, where you go below a certain level, there are penalties for that, whether it's losing draft picks, losing revenue sharing money, could be anything. And philosophically, I don't see how the owners could oppose that. You got this at the top, well, why not put it at the bottom?
Ken, I'm going to be lambasted for saying, oh, this is such a player's view. A lot of these issues are owners versus owners. And you even brought it up in in part of your article today. Like, why has it seemed like the fight seems like players have to negotiate owners versus owners issues?
Well,
you know what? That's a really good point because in 1994, it was players and the owners, okay? Now it's kind of like the owners are fractured. When they let in Steve Cohen, I think what they told him was like, yo, ease the fuck up. You have $36 billion in your bank account. Do not kill baseball. And then the Dodgers were like, hold my beer. So I think that the owners aren't even in lockstep. And I think that the owners are fractured because just of what I said. The Dodgers, the Toronto Blue Jays, the big market teams don't want to stop spending. And the small market teams are bitching and complaining. But they do not complain when the Yankees have to pay luxury tax. For instance, Kyle Tucker, with the luxury tax, with the taxes in the state, for what they paid him for 1 year for $60 million, it comes to $167 million. That's like with last year with the New York Yankees when everyone was saying, go get Blake Snell, go get Blake Snell. If they got Blake Snell on a 1 year rental for like $34 million, then we're going to have to pay him $82 million for the whole ball of wax. So, it's not fair, and it is broken. They need to figure it out, but it's not like, hey, players, owners, even the owners don't have their shit together, and that's what scares the hell out of me, is because this is so disjointed where there isn't even two steady front lines in the war, in the negotiating wars.
Historically, that's at times been the case, Eric, where basically the owners were asking the players to solve their problems. And in 94, 95, that was certainly an aspect of it. In this case, we'll see how together the owners are. People always talk about, well, can the players stick together? It's always a fair question. But where are the owners going to be? Are the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Mets, the Dodgers and Mets in particular, going to be content to share more money, if that's what it comes to, if there is nothing on the other end for them, if these teams don't spend that?
Dude, Hal Steinbrenner, who's as quiet as a librarian, literally named the Pittsburgh Pirates owner, and he's like, I am tired of giving that guy $11 million a year for no reason. They put all of their money in a big pool, and then all the poor teams take from it. It's socialism. Not a big fan. You know, I used to wait tables, and I was a bartender for years. And the nights that they would come in and be like, hey, by the way, tonight we're pooling tips. That means where you throw all the money in the center of the room, and you guys all evenly distribute from it. Okay, and then Jim's picking his nose and leaning on the wall. He's going to make the same amount of money as I am? Yeah, I don't think so. So try to tell that to the players, okay, in Major League Baseball. Like, if you want to go out and get a salary and you want to go out and get a payday like Kyle Tucker, you can work your ass off. You can have a comeback year like Trent Grisham and Cody Bellinger and go get that bag. With a salary cap, kind of hinders it.
Money properly. Now, in a cap system, obviously, it's a different scenario entirely, and that in some respects, from the owner's perspective, would be very healthy, not just for franchise values, but also the Dodgers and Mets would only be spending so much in that scenario. Maybe that's what ultimately they would prefer. But at the same time, what I like about the current system is, why would we limit teams and what they can spend? Why are we telling them you can't do this? You could put penalties in. You can make it tougher for them. And all of those things are proper within the context of the current system. But the idea of saying, don't try as hard as you can, that's problematic.
See, now, that's what I was talking about, the complacency in the NBA with the salary cap, that the regular season has become complacent and that these guys are mailing it in. On the other side of that coin, those guys make bank. And also, it gets so convoluted with their first-tier luxury tax, second-tier luxury tax, veteran minimums. You need a degree in advanced physics to figure out the free agency and the pay structure in the NBA. I've sat there for 3 or 4 days and literally schooled myself up, and I'm still a little shaky. So do you want to make Major League Baseball even that more convoluted? But he's saying exactly what I said. You're rewarding complacency, and you're rewarding Jim, who's picking his nose and leaning on the wall and not waiting on tables.
One of the things that always comes up in the CBA negotiation is the fact that teams at the bottom don't spend enough. And you kind of hit it on a little bit. Do you believe that because every negotiation starts at a point for everybody, they're saying salary cap, what do they really want to hit? You know, if you want to make $100 million, you're not going to say, I'd like $100 million, because they'll negotiate back and go, we'll give you 50. You know, so they want the salary cap, but where do they really want to get to? Where do Major League Baseball really want to get to?
Whoa.
What's that?
I just built a budgeting app with Base 44.
Guys, you need to just build.
Aaron Drellick, in his article from Wednesday about the salary cap and how it would work, I believe had numbers along the lines of 260 at the top, 150 at the bottom. It's not exact, but it was in that range.
So, guys, that means that the cap, the most amount of money you can spend on your salary, would be $260 million, and the basement would be $115 million. So that would force guys like the Tampa Bay Rays, who have a payroll of $88 million, to spend more, and they would be taxed and they would be penalized if they did not exceed or meet the 115 threshold, which I think is a step in the right direction.
To me, is unrealistic on both ends. The small market teams, some of them can't get to 150, and some of the large market teams are not going to want to go.
I'm sorry, I thought he said 115. 150 is definitely unrealistic for a lot of teams. That would almost be doubling their current salary. And in fact, you don't have that many players in Major League Baseball that garner that type of salary.
Down that low, and frankly, can't go down that low for quite some time. And in the cap leagues, and I point this out in my article today, basically the cap and floor, for the most part, are quite close together. 90% in the NHL and NBA. 90% of the floor is, 90% of the cap is where the floor is. So that's very much condensed. In baseball, there's no way you could do that. And I have a hard time seeing, we haven't talked about this much, okay, you want a cap. How's it going to work? How this is going to happen exactly? And of course, we haven't gotten to that point yet.
And then also, how's this cap going to work with the existing contracts that you have on the books? Juan Soto, who's making $825 million. How are you going to adjust the salary cap to those extreme backloaded contracts that the LA Dodgers have? Is it too late? Has the horse left the barn already? You know, like maybe we should have been having this discussion like 3 years ago. But how are they going to restructure guys' contracts? Are they going to say guys that have mega contracts now are grandfathered in, and as the years go by, they'll just fall off the books, and then everybody pre that is going to be under the cap? I don't know. I failed math 3 times in school. If you have any light, shed it in the comments. Let me know what you think about the episode so far. Let me know how the weather is outside. I don't care. We're having a casual one today, guys, just watching this together.
I'm sure the owners have plans to make it work and in their eyes can pull it off, but I'd like to see it in practice. I don't believe for this sport it is that practical, at least in the models that we've seen from the other sports.
I like what you wrote on there about teams.
It's financial measures you can use, many indicators. I would look at attendance being up each of the all 30 do support a cap. They need 23 votes together. I have a hard time believing it simply because if I'm the owner of the Cleveland Guardians, my worldview is much different than it would be if I were the owner of the Los Angeles Dodgers or the New York Mets. That's actually the problem we're talking about here. So we'll see if they stay together, and maybe all 30 do support a cap. They need 23 votes to get anything approved on their end. And of course, they have to deal with the players. I can see where that might be the case. 23 might support a cap, if only for their franchise values, which is the real motivation here. They want cost certainty so they can get their franchise values up. The franchise values in the sport have not increased as dramatically as some others. But again, there are many financial measures you can use, many indicators. I would look at attendance being up each of the last 3 years. That's happened for the first time since 2005 to 2007. There are so many good things happening. If a cap which one is maybe difficult to pull off for the sport, and 2, more importantly, a real problem for the union and something that is going to cause you to possibly miss games, maybe a lot of games. That's a high cost to me. It's too high a cost to pay.
All right. Well, if you're willing for the owners not to be greedy and the players to give up revenue, I've got a bridge to sell you in Brooklyn, because Major League Baseball loves to do this. Every time they get us, they suck us back in, they break our heart. Just like in 1994, when baseball was about to take the next step and go global, strike. Now, with the World Baseball Classic, the Dodgers, the Yankees, and this season prepped to be one of the best one in Major League Baseball history, we have that cloud hanging over our head of the looming strike of 2026. So we could have one of the greatest seasons we've ever had, just like 1994, and it's cut short by greed, capitalism, and teams not spending enough, and teams spending too much. So it's the tale of two cities, the have and have-nots. Well, guess what? Don't be a have-not and go over to Instagram at New York Minute. That's NEWYRKMIN. That's New York Minute Sports. And we'll have you covered. Major League Baseball and the AL East all season long. It's New York Minute Sports. It's New York Sports for New York Nuts. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. And remember, if you can't be good, be bad, baby. Good night, Canada. Bye.